Today I'm giving you a wheat fodder update. We pretty much do it the same. I still have the same rack that I had last year. I did have some problems last year with mice getting into it and with mold accumulating at the base of the wheat, and the rabbits don't necessarily like that so much. I was watching my wheat grow and I get this sporadic growth with just doing straight wheat fodder. And what I've started to do now is I'm putting some compost in with the wheat, just a couple handfuls of compost, and then I spread out a thin layer of wheat and then a little bit more compost on top of that. And what I'm finding is I'm getting a more uniform sprout and a much faster growth. This one right next to this one, this is the stuff with the compost, and it's probably 4 days younger, and it's already the same height, which I'm hoping will help not have the mold that we had before. This looks really healthy. I'm trying to use this stuff up with the rabbits, but it looks like this is going to be ready here in a couple days. I'm thinking I might get a little more height since I'm using the compost. We'll see. I'm going to let that grow a couple more days and I'll give you an update. Okay, here's another look. I've taken the wheat fodder out of the trays, and so you can see the root systems. There's a lot less wheat in here, but it doesn't look like it. This here, I mean, it's easy to pull apart to feed to the rabbits, and actually it looks pretty good, but you just don't have as good a germination. This here, set that down, very difficult to pull apart. So actually, when I put this in the rabbit pen, it actually may keep growing for them to keep eating on it, because it's got food and it'll hold a little more moisture. What happens when I feed the wheat fodder every day is it dries out real fast, so whatever is grown they eat, and after that it's done. Right now I'm setting up a wheat fodder bin, and we put a thin layer of compost in there, and then a thin layer of wheat. So what I found, you know, one of the reasons I started doing this is because of the mold problem. One thing I started doing was I started making the layers, instead of putting a 1/2 inch of wheat in, I put a 1/4 inch of wheat in, and that didn't really help. Well, it helped a little bit with the mold, but it still had a problem. And so then I started to put it in the compost. And now that I've got a layer of wheat in there, I'm going to put another layer of compost. Now I just sifted this compost out. It's my leaf grass compost, and there's redworms in there. There's still some in this, which isn't going to hurt the wheat at all. They'll crawl out basically once I put it on the shelf. And now we've tried using the wheat fodder with the other animals. The chickens and the pigs like the wheat fodder just sprouted, maybe a little bit of green, but not grown out. They don't get much use out of it. I mean, the pigs, they'll eat the roots and all if it's just being sprouted, just turning green. And I don't put any dirt in that. Basically, I use 1 coffee can, filled up the bucket, let it soak, and I make 2 trays for the rabbits, and the rest of it, this can go to the pigs. Now the chickens have another bucket all on their own. They consume a lot more wheat since it doesn't get sprouted. But, so that's how it works. Now this is just to be watered down, and I'll put it on the shelf. Now we're having temperatures around 90 degrees for the next week or two, and so I'm watering these 2 or 3 times a day, and that seems to be just fine since we give them a good soak before we put them in the tray.